I'm Lily Phillips, and today I'm getting run through by 100 guys.
Hey there, and welcome to Attachment with Alyse, your go-to place for cracking the code on attachment, relationships, and holistic wellness. Ready to ditch that anxiety and get anchored in love and life? Let's do this! Next video drops in 3, 2, 1.
Hi there, my name is Alyse, and I'm a holistic wellness coach specializing in integrated attachment theory. And I help anxiously attached women overcome their core wounds and find that deep, secure, loving relationship that they've always desired and truly deserve. And today we are going to be talking about Lily Phillips. Now at this point, I'm pretty sure you've all heard of Lily Phillips. She is a 23-year-old OnlyFans model from Derbyshire, UK. And recently, she has garnered significant attention because she publicly live on video slept with 100 men in one day. Her journey raises intriguing questions about the psychological motivations behind her choices. Using attachment theory as a framework, we're going to explore Lily's background and behavior to better understand her mindset and the societal dynamics influencing her. Now, before we get started, I just want to make clear that I am not here to bash Lily. I am not here to put her down in any way. I merely want to explore the psychology of someone who would choose to do such a thing. And this is purely an educational and just understanding basis. In preparing for this video, I researched some articles that were written about her, but more than that, I listened to quite a few different interviews that Lily gave about her experiences, and I watched a documentary that was recorded by Josh Pieters, who I will link below. And I'm actually going to be using clips from his documentary in order to explain the situations that are going on. I'm going to break this down into 6 different stages: self-perception and self-worth, people-pleasing tendencies and emotional labor, empowerment versus shame, dissociation as a coping mechanism, internal conflicts and loneliness, and lastly, societal judgments and ethical questions. So for this section in self-perception and worth, I really want to focus and take a look at the words that Lily uses to speak about herself.
The word and almost owned it in a way.
Yeah, 100%. I don't mind being called I'm sleeping with 100 guys in a day. That is the definition of a surely.
You can tell a lot about someone from the way that they speak about themselves. In the UK, it is quite common for people to have self-deprecating humor, and I think to a certain extent, there's always truth behind humor. However, it is more common and accepted to exhibit that kind of humor here in the UK versus other places in the world like the US. So when we analyze her, the way that she speaks about herself, we have to take that into consideration, that it's more common to have self-deprecating humor here. So the first thing that she says, the opening line of the documentary describes how she is going to be run through by 100 men.
I'm Lily Phillips, and today I'm getting run through by 100 guys.
And I am not very clued in on that sexual kind of terminology, but the way that I see run through is that, like, literally it's like a, what is that? Like a production line. Like, she is going to be having one guy after the other, after the other, after the other, just have sex with her. Or sleep with her, I should say. So right from the opening scene, Lily's self-deprecating humor sets the tone for how she perceives herself. But is there more to this than just humor? And as I mentioned before, in the UK, it is very commonplace to have self-deprecating humor. However, there's always there's a level of truth behind it. And the pervasiveness of this humor is what I want to highlight here, because to me it shows there is potentially a deeper level of these feelings because it comes out so much, and the things that she says. So in this first scene that I'm going to show you, Lily is starting to make a cup of tea for Josh, who is the interviewer of this documentary that he's creating. Now, actually, let me just say, so this documentary that Josh is creating is about Lily and her exhibition of sleeping with 100 men in a day. So he is speaking with Lily in the week up to this event, and he will be there on the day as well and be speaking to her afterward. So initially, this is the first meeting that they have. Josh comes to Lily's house. She makes him a cup of tea, and this is what she says.
You know, I don't drink tea.
Yeah. Oh, really?
No, so this is probably going to taste like shit because I don't really know how to make it, but just good for one thing, me, honestly.
So you can see that Lily is openly belittling herself, suggesting that her only value lies in. Right away, this shows to me that she has some sort of struggle with self-worth. I mean, it could be completely like she's just trying to be funny, but the fact that these kind of comments do come up often makes me feel like, okay, there is actually something going on here, that she's actually feeling quite low about her worth in life. She knows that she is worthy in terms of the career that she has chosen with, you know, having these certain acts and getting paid a lot of money for it. She's quite successful on OnlyFans. I think one of the top creators there. So she does really well for herself, but I don't think that she sees her value outside of this little bubble. Now, in this next clip I'm going to show you, Lily's going to be talking about how she got to the point where she was.
Before I had sex, I was never much for... I actually wanted to wait till marriage at one point. I just used to think it was a real special thing. As soon as I actually did it and had, I kind of realised that it wasn't special, and also that I just really loved it and really enjoyed it, and that I wanted to do it way more often.
So initially, before Lily had sex, she did hold this view of it, that it was special. But then there was a change. Something happened. When she actually had sex, she realized that it wasn't special, and so changed her way of thinking about the actual act. This disillusionment with her first sexual experience makes me question, was there something that happened to make this shift in perception? Was there something bigger that happened? Was it just merely a fact that, oh, it wasn't a special moment? It makes me question, okay, what happened? Who was it with? Were there any other situations involved that maybe she didn't want? Why was it not special? And it's okay, like our first time, not everybody's first time is going to be special, but it is a major shift to go from, yeah, this is something that I want to wait for my husband before I do, like holding it on this pedestal, to then suddenly, it's actually not special at all. Like, what was I thinking? This is actually fun, but there's no real meaning in it. So to me, that big change signifies, okay, there was something deeper to that event. Like, how could you make that big of a shift without something stronger internally that affected her about that experience? And so I do wonder, like, what happened, who was it with, and what were the circumstances around it. Okay, so section 2 is about Lily's people-pleasing tendencies and emotional labor. So before Lily actually does this one-day event, the thing that makes her nervous and the thing that worries her the most leading up to this day is the fact that she's just worried about the men's pleasure. So she's worried that maybe they're not going to have a good time, or maybe that they will be disgusted by this whole event. Watch.
I'm nervous for is like for them to have a good time. I want to make sure they enjoy themselves and don't come away from it like, oh, I feel disgusted or that wasn't fun.
To me, it raises a flag that this is the number one thing that she's concerned about. She's not concerned about her own physical safety, just having a bunch of random guys come to her place and have these acts together. She's not so much concerned about the safety. She does require that the men show, well, number one, she requires that they show their ID, so they are over 18. She also prioritizes the men that have had STI checks. But that's as far as it goes in terms of safety. So the fact that she's kind of overlooking that and more concerned and nervous about the guy's pleasure is showing me a certain level of, again, this like belittlement of herself to the favor of the men. And she gets so much satisfaction out of making sure that the men are taken care of, that the men are happy, that the men are enjoying themselves. And this is a tendency that is common for anxious attachment types. Anxiously attached individuals fear rejection and disapproval and being outcasted and forgotten about. And so they place a lot of importance on pleasing others, on being likable, on wanting to make other people happy because it makes them feel good about themselves, it makes them feel connected, and it makes them feel included, and that makes them feel safe. But sometimes this can come at a personal cost. And this is what we want to avoid and what we want to really sort out when I personally am working with anxiously attached individuals and helping them to see that their feelings and self-worth and their own self-validation is just as important as another person's.
Your family and your parents are proud of you and what you've achieved.
Well, my parents knew straight from the start, like, about what I was doing. Obviously, at the start, they were a bit apprehensive because they want me to be safe and they want me to make good decisions and stuff like that.
Your parents must be very sort of forward-thinking and open-minded, which is great because I think
Lily claims in multiple interviews to be supported by her family. She says that her family is very supportive of what she does. They don't know the day-to-day things that she does. She doesn't tell them all the information, but they are aware of what she does. And she says that she's supported by them. I saw another article that said that her mom does her finances. Her mom is in charge of her finances. So that is kind of weird to me. I don't like the idea that her parents are helping her with this or perhaps even benefiting from it. That way too unsettling for me if that is true. I wouldn't want that because then we will be talking about other types of territory that I don't want to get into, but she claims to feel very supported by her family. However, she doesn't tell them everything because she doesn't want her parents to think less of her. She didn't tell them that she's going to be sleeping with 100 men in one day because she doesn't want them to think of her in a certain way.
And that they don't need to know the logistics.
Of course.
I do feel a little bit like embarrassed being like, Mom and Dad, I'm f***ing 100 guys.
Why?
I guess because it's not really what my parents would have wanted me to do. Doesn't mean to say my parents are like going to disown me or hate me or anything like that. I just don't want them to think less of me.
So here there is a discrepancy, an internal conflict between what she does, wanting to please the men, wanting to please her parents, and both of those things don't really line up. So this shows that she does have some sort of internal struggle around this. I also want to mention that Lily does say that, well, the interviewer, Josh, asked her if she ever gets people to message her on OnlyFans that she actually knows. And she says, yeah, I get guys that message me saying, you know, we went to school together and this all the time. But sometimes her dad's friends message her, which is a complete level of creepy. Like, oh, I got such an ick thinking about that. I don't know what her dad, like, how would her dad feel that his friends are looking at his daughter naked? Like, oh gosh, I hope she does not share that with her dad. That's just so weird. It's so weird.
Have you like recognized any of the names in here of people that you might know?
Oh yeah, definitely. There's been some guys like outwardly say like we used to go to school together.
Wow.
Or some like dad's friends and stuff like that.
What messaging you?
Yeah.
So this next segment I want to talk about empowerment versus shame. So Lily claims that she actually loves what she does. She gets so much enjoyment out of it. She says, well, she might as well get paid for doing it because she'll be doing it anyway. So there is this aspect of her where she feels like, hey, you know, I'm a female, it's 2024, this is something I can do and I can make money from it. And she's making a ton. So there is a sense of empowerment that she has with that. However, she does have a little bit of shame. We talked about, you know, previously, she has a little bit of shame in regard to her family and what her family thinks. But there's also an aspect of how the industry, even that she's in, kind of makes her feel shameful about it.
I think other people in the industry definitely look down on me for doing this, but I think at the end of the day, people forget that it's also my fantasy. And this is also something that I'm really enjoying and want to do and have wanted to do before I was even in the industry.
Lily says that people in the industry look down on her, but they also forget that this is her fantasy. So she claims that this is something that she actually really wants to do. Like, it's her fantasy to sleep with 100 guys in one day. In another interview, she explained it's not about the money, it's about the success of being so good at what she does. And again, she is in the top 1% of OnlyFans, so she's doing a great job. However, I do want to make note that her pursuit of validation through public recognition suggests that it could be true, or it could be a response, a learned response to mask negative emotions with external praise. And it's just like she's tricking herself into believing, no, that everything is okay. Like, look at all the good that I'm doing. Look at how much praise I'm getting. Look at how much money I'm making. And that's masking all of the negative feelings that she could be feeling about herself.
I've only ever felt empowered by the fact that I'm making money off something that I think guys will do anyway. Like, guys are always going to sexualize me, so I may as well try and profit off that bit.
I mean, not all guys are going to just sexualize you.
I don't really know. I'm not, maybe not all guys, but...
On another issue, Josh interviewed another OnlyFans model who started because she needed money. I think it was during the pandemic. And this is what this lady says.
The problem is that when you sign up to objectifying yourself, it's like you're signing a deal with the devil. Like, no one is going to see you as a human being.
So you'll get to a point where everyone is objectifying you. And this is something as well that Lily has trouble with.
But just like people talking about your body constantly, how you look, every day someone like picking at you, I think that's the hard part. And also just the pure fact that people think so much less of you.
Yeah.
Before anyone ever meets you, they already perceive you to be this kind of like persona.
Yeah. So her parents worry about Lily finding a partner. Her parents worry that because this is her career, she's not going to have a boyfriend, she's not going to settle down. And this is what Lily says.
I talk about this a lot with my parents because that's the one thing I guess they worry about is like, will you ever find a boyfriend?
Yeah.
But there's so many guys out in the world. I think, you know, one poor bastard's got to marry me.
There's so many guys out in the world, you know, one poor bastard has got to marry me. And again, I want you to look at the words that she's using to describe herself and her situation. Like, she doesn't see herself as worthy. She's comparing herself, well, there's so many guys in the world. One has got to like me. One has got to marry me. And she doesn't even put that guy on high esteem because she calls him a bastard. So, I mean, this is just giving you an insight into how Lily, she's framing it with humor. She's masking this negative self-talk and humor and trying to make it seem okay. But in reality, it's really actually sad. And I feel for her. Now I want to talk about dissociation as a coping mechanism. At this point, Lily has already completed her exhibition. she's already done. She actually did 101 guys, and now Josh is sitting down with her to chat about how it went.
It's not for the weak, girls, if I'm honest. It was hard. It's kind of like being a prostitute in a sense of like, it's just a different...
It's not like just having sex with someone.
Yeah. Just one in, one out. Like, it feels intense.
Like more intense than you thought it might.
Definitely. Sorry.
Okay.
And Lily actually gets really emotional during these scenes, and it makes me question, are you actually okay? Like, what's going on? For someone who was so happy and excited and talking like how good it's gonna be, and like almost seemed quite naive around this subject, to now see her in such a... She just seems so small. She just seems like a fragile shell of herself, and she's so emotional, and it just makes me question, how is she actually doing? How is she actually doing? Is this girl okay? And then she talks about, by the 30th guy, it starts to become robotic, and she starts to dissociate, and it's like she doesn't even see the guy anymore. She claimed that if this wasn't on video, she wouldn't have even known that it was 100 guys, because she kind of tunes out, and it just becomes, okay, this is what I'm doing. It's like, again, it's that I don't know why I keep forgetting this word. It's what is it? Okay, so I guess it's an assembly line is the thing that I was trying to think of. But anyway,
I think sometimes like feeling so like robotic, like by the 30th, you know, like when we're getting on a bit, I've got like a routine of like how we're gonna do this, and like it just sometimes you'd like disassociate and be like, you know, like it's not like normal things at all.
So Lily's admission that she dissociates is kind of alarming to me, because dissociation is a trauma response. So when our bodies are physically going something that's really difficult or traumatizing, we dissociate in order to essentially leave the scene. Our mind, our spirit leaves the scene, and our body is just like taking whatever is going on. And it's kind of like it protects your brain from internalizing everything that's going on. And this is also a learned trait. It's a learned trait. So the first time you're traumatized, this is when your body begins to learn, if it happens again, to dissociate so that you can get out of that situation. It doesn't happen the first time. So the fact that she is doing this means that this is something that she has repetitively done before. And perhaps it's just in these events, because I know that she's training herself up. So, you know, she did it with 30 guys at once. Now she's doing it with 100 guys in a day, and she keeps increasing her numbers because she eventually wants to break the world record and do 1,000 guys in a day. This is something that she came out with after she made this video. So yeah, I don't know if this dissociation is from these past experiences in her line of work, or if this is something from her childhood. And this is what I'm really, really curious about. Like, what happened in her childhood? What happened in order for her to be okay with this? Because as I've mentioned before, many times on my channel, I talk about the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is controlling 95% of our actions, because the conscious mind is only 5%. We can only do so much, but the subconscious is always going to overpower the conscious mind. So the way that the subconscious works is it's programmed. It's programmed through repetition plus emotion. So if we are programmed in childhood, if we have these negative experiences around us often, it programs our mind that kind of activity is normal. So you're traumatized as a child often. To you, that is normal. And your brain is going to want to seek out more of that, because your brain wants comfort. Your brain wants familiarity. So it will continue to bring to you that sort of stuff. That's why in my line of work, we have to retrain your subconscious mind. We have to retrain it to a more positive thought and feeling about yourself in order to bring those positive things to you. Anyway, the point is, if Lily is dissociating this much, it just shows that this is a trauma response that she has had to learn to do, and that is pretty worrying to me. The mismatch between her rhetoric of empowerment and her ability, and not even ability, but necessity to emotionally detach, highlights that there is some sort of psychological toll that is taking place with her actions and her choices, although she might not be aware of it. So the next session I want to talk about is internal conflict and loneliness.
People think I'm like so sad and stuff like that, but that could not be like further from the truth. I don't think people realize like how happy this makes me.
So Lily explains that on the one hand, she does enjoy what she's doing. She likes having sex. She likes it. She says that it gives her serotonin. She feels good. She gets excited when people call her an SLUT. Like, oh, you're the SLUT from OnlyFans. Like, she gets excited about that. However, there are some aspects of it that she doesn't actually like, and that is the loneliness that it brings. And you think, oh, well, she's with this guy and that guy. She's around a lot of people, but that is not really fulfilling, especially because she's already learned that the act of intercourse is not special. There's no meaning to it. And I think spiritually, within humans, we do know that this is a special act, because number one, we don't choose to do it with everybody. So the fact, well, generally speaking, we don't choose to do it with everybody. So we're not going to choose to behave this way with someone unless it's special, for the most part. It's also very, very vulnerable. Men are vulnerable in this position, and even more so, women are vulnerable, because a man has more strength and power than women, and, you know, bad things can happen. So it's a very vulnerable position. And beyond that, it's also, you know, a woman can become pregnant after this sort of act. So there's a lot of responsibility that takes place. And naturally, we want to have discretion, because, you know, having a baby is a huge lifelong deal. So I think on the one hand, doing this act over and over and over and over, and not feeling those feelings that internally, spiritually, we know that we should be experiencing, there is a sort of hollowness to that, maybe like a shallowness to that, that is going to bring up internal conflict within yourself.
I am feeling a little bit more lonely. My friends have all got boyfriends, and I'm like, I see a comment and people are like, God, no one's ever going to marry you, or something like that. And that can definitely like make me feel a little bit like, oh God, have I chose the wrong career? But like, I just totally love my job.
And she also mentions that she gets lonely because she doesn't have a boyfriend. So she's alone on a Sunday and she doesn't have anybody to spend it with, anyone serious to spend it with. And she's worried about having true friends because either people don't like her because of what she does, or people only see her for one thing, and so she doesn't have really solid friendships, it sounds like, and it can be quite lonely for her. Lily also sometimes doubts her career choice as a result of this, which suggests some introspection and possible remorse, challenging this narrative that she has that she is very happy with what she's doing. The last section is societal judgments and ethical questions. So after Lily has completed her task, she becomes very emotional, and part of that is due to feeling like a prostitute. She explains how it's just one in, one out, one in, one out. However, the part that really gets her worked up again is thinking about the men. It's thinking about, oh, are they enjoying this? Or when it gets to a point where she has to move on to the next guy because it is one in, one out, and she's on a time crunch, then that guy makes her feel bad and says, well, I drove all the way out here. You said 5 minutes. It's only been 2 minutes. And she feels kind of shamed around that. And to me, it's a little abusive. It's a little manipulative and abusive. And, this emotion comes out of her.
I guess the interactions when like I'd have to stop them early and like you'd have to stand on business and be like, I'm so sorry, you got to go, and like the awkward interaction of like you feeling pressure to have to make them come if like you haven't spent enough time with them, and feeling like you didn't give them a good time because like they only got 2 minutes. And it's hard, I think, having the interactions with them when they're like, what, you're not going to make me finish, I've come all this way, like kind of like guilt tripping me a little bit.
In another interview, she explained that this probably wasn't the best idea for Josh to interview her right afterward because, she just went through something that was really difficult, and clearly it affected her in a way that she wasn't expecting. She even dissociates herself from her experiences. It's like she's dismissing herself, which is something that anxiously attached people also do. You dismiss your own feelings and desires in place of somebody else. So you put your own feelings, desires, wants down because you want to please other people. And I think that's what she's doing in this process. Like, okay, those feelings did come up for her, but she's going to push them down because what she really wants to do is, well, yeah, she wants to make money, but she wants to make people happy and she wants that success. So she is selling herself for that.
Like when they'd kind of be like, oh, like we've only had 2 minutes or 3 minutes and you said 5 on the message.
Did someone say that to you?
Yeah. And obviously it just makes me feel so bad.
Do you think you should feel bad about that?
I guess when you've promised something to people who support you, it's kind of hard to let them down.
And while, again, like I said, this is completely, I'm impartial. Like, I don't judge her for what she's doing. I couldn't do it myself, but I mean, she's making a lot of money, so I guess good for her. But I do wonder, I mean, she's only 23 years old. She's only 23. Is this something that she's going to be regretting later? I know when I was 23, I was a different person back then, and I probably behaved in certain ways that I wouldn't behave now because you're young and you're naive and you haven't experienced so many things in life yet. I do wonder about this, about how she's going to be feeling, and if she continues to push all this stuff down, like, eventually it's going to come out. Eventually, if she continues on this way, she will break at one point. Like, it's just, you can't repress and have things go away. The more that you repress your emotions, the bigger it's going to bounce out of you. So there have been a lot of comments online about Lily belittling her, making her feel bad, you know, saying like, how is this an example of our society today? One person even commented, she manipulated and exploited 100 men to have sex on video for profit. She should be crying and ashamed. And that's the other thing, is that, yes, you know, on the one hand, she is doing this, and kind of takes me back to what I was saying about the whole prostitute thing. Like, I think that was the shift which made her feel bad, is that, like, you know, this whole thing was about her. It was her idea. It was her fantasy. It was what she wanted to do. She wanted to have 100 men. And then when the guys push back and say, well, it's only been 2 minutes. Whoa, you're not going to even make me, you know, like, I'm not finishing. Like, this is not cool. And then they start to push back, which makes her feel like, oh, I'm not in control anymore. And I think that's kind of like how a prostitute might feel, is that nobody likes being used. Nobody likes being used. And when it goes into that territory, you do feel kind of used. But in a sense, she's also using these guys, because, like, these guys are really nervous when they come to her door. They are signing papers to have these acts be in public. Like, it's on live stream. They don't have to show their face, but their body is being shown. And in a sense, if you sign off on that, you come all this way, you do this for a couple of minutes, you're even subjecting yourself to this sort of online scrutiny. It's just a frustrating situation for everybody involved. I think the only people who get, like, really anything positive out of it are just the onlookers. Another thing that people are saying online is they are putting down the guys who signed up for this, and how they should be ashamed. And how do we live in a society where OnlyFans is a thing, where OnlyFans is making billions and billions of dollars? Like, why is that? And, you know, that these men should be ashamed of themselves as well. And to that, I'm not going to disagree, but I'm just going to say, ladies, like, when you are looking for your man, when you are looking for the one that you want to settle down with, like, learn your value and what you are willing to accept and not accept. If this is something that you don't want your man to be participating in, don't accept that. Don't settle for that man. Like, the men who are going to be participating in OnlyFans is probably young or lonely or not living a holistic, healthy life, I would say. So choose wisely. You have the power at the end of the day. You know, these men maybe might change their ways along the line. Who knows? Or maybe you might be into it as well, and you both can watch together. You know, to each their own, no judgment here. But for all of you out there, just, you know, never forget that you have power. You have the choice. You can choose who you want to be with, and know your value.
I mean, I'm like a part of the problem. It's so hard because, like, doing extreme stuff like this is not normal. Like, and I think then guys are probably going to expect girls to maybe be as strong as me and sleep with this many guys and take it up with us or do stuff like that that isn't real life sex.
Well, Lily was right. She has set a new standard. Shortly after filming this 100 guys in a day, she wanted to do 1,000. However, fellow OnlyFans model Bonnie Blue actually just beat her to the punch by sleeping with 1,057 men in just 12 hours. Unfortunately for Lily, or fortunately for Lily, Bonnie Blue has come and swept this world record title from right under her feet. But how is Lily going to react to this? Clearly, she will be upset because this is her trend that she was setting. However, maybe we can all put this to an end at this point. I think most people recognize that this type of behavior is abnormal and not something that should be condoned. Let's all agree to keep this record at 1,057. We don't need to go any higher. And just remember, at the end of the day, these women are doing this as their career. They're making money off of it. And it is their choice. But it doesn't have to be yours. I finished filming, but I just wanted to say one more thing. So, Lily says that men are going to sexualize her anyway, so she might as well make money off of it. And I just wanted to say to that, men will sexualize you if you sexualize yourself. You set the standard. If you want to be viewed as a woman without being sexualized, you have to present yourself that way. And at the end of the day, that's down to you. Take that, okay? Thank you for watching. If you've liked what you have seen, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Put some comments down below. I would love to chat with you guys. And if you want to work with me, I have my link to my website down below. Feel free to reach out to me there or email me, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye. Take care.
Have you even processed, do you think, what's happened?
Not yet. God, I won't forget this day, Jesus.